Welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred right here at Black Video News in San Antonio. We are the voice for the black community here. Well, lately there's been a lot of to-do about this new movie, Woman King. I have to be honest with you, I haven't seen it, but I've read and looked at some of the reviews, pretty much know what it's all about, so I'm not going to comment on the movie itself. But I do want to talk about all the excitement around a movie that's about something that happened 200 years ago, 8,000 miles from the United States. And I have the right person with me today to have that discussion, Dr. Sherry Michael Chadwell. One of my favorite guests on my show. It's been a little while.
It's been a while.
But welcome back.
You're not mad at me?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I respect you and appreciate you coming on the show. So, with that said, why all the excitement about this movie?
I can't speak for everybody else, but I can say that, when the Black Panthers came out and they had the guards, which was based on the Dahomey women, and then this movie came out, I was really excited about it. For one, it was a solid movie that was had a predominantly all black cast of women and men, but it was a strong story. Now, I had my own biases as well, in that having trained for Ironman triathlon events, I could appreciate the scene in the movie showing how these women trained to strengthen their skills, sharpen their skills, the dedication it took for them to get to this level. But I think that, going back to your question, where you hear these topics called Black girl magic, sisterhood, things like that, you saw it really displayed in this movie.
Okay.
So I think the excitement is that, one, those elements, plus Viola Davis is a phenomenal actress.
Oh, she is. Yeah, I'll give her credit for that.
And then
definitely.
the fact that her husband was also in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Broadway actor.
Okay.
So it added a special touch to the whole phenomenon.
Well, why do we have to go all the way back to Africa to create that feeling of sisterhood? Can't we do it here?
Well, we can, but I just think that it was just a subject that she wanted to produce. No, let me finish. That she wanted to produce. And Africa was the site where the story took place. Yes, could the story be done here? Probably so. But this was a different element, a different strategy on promoting a message that they wanted to promote.
I'm still stuck on, don't we need to promote that message among sisters here in the United States? Why 8,000 miles is a long way, and 200 years or longer ago is a long time.
But it was a human story. Okay, it's a human story, and again, the setting. First of all, a lot of people want to know why we went back to Dahomey. Why Dahomey? Why not Chicago? Why not San Antonio? Why not this? Why not that? But it was the story of these women that they wanted to tell. Now, I think that another reason why they wanted to get the story of these women out was to dispel the Wonder Woman myth, that these women were called by white slavers as the Dahomey Amazon. So the Wonder Woman myth is kind of based on the Dahomey tribe. So I think they were trying to dispel that myth, that there were these women that did exist. And it was great to hear to see elements of their story on the big screen.
What in the movie creates this feeling of sisterhood? Is there any one scene or is it the overall movie itself?
It's an overall movie, but there, with the Dahomey women, a lot of those women were not wanted by their families. They were kicked out for all kind of reasons.
Is that true or fiction? Is that the fiction part of the movie?
No, that's a lot of truth to that. I meant to bring a book to show you a book I'm looking at, but there is a lot of truth that these women, where a lot of them were just kicked out, they were unwanted, and to be accepted into, in this case, the Agoge group, or the Dahomey women warriors. They had to give up a whole lot of stuff to where they were really kind of like the king's wives, but they were his bodyguards also. They were his guards.
Were they also his wives?
They were his wives, kind of like Solomon. Solomon had a lot of wives.
I mean, were they his wives in the real sense of wives?
Well, in their culture. And I'm going to say that in their culture, okay? Because when we think about wives, we think about man and woman, but the European definition of wives, of a wife, but they were like his wives, but they weren't engaging in husband and wives activities.
They didn't consummate the okay.
Because these women had to give up a lot to be within this special group. They gave up emotion. They gave up any type of human inclinations that they had in order to focus on the strength training and their military dedication, basically. So the sisterhood that was established by these women joining together to fulfill a mission to support the king.
Without emotion?
Without emotion.
How can you give up emotion?
That's a whole different show. But I think sometimes for some women, I can't speak for men, but some women may give up some levels of emotion to achieve a task.
Okay. But they had emotion. They showed emotion as a collective, didn't they?
As fighters.
Huh?
As fighters, yes.
But even more than that, sisterhood is about emotions, isn't it?
Well, in the movie. So in the movie, this is where the contradictions started coming into play, if you will, to where first you had, what's her name, Nanisca. That was Viola Davis's role. And she was the general of these women. And she had given up all of her feelings in order to rise to the rank of general. And even the women who were kind of like her right hand and left hand persons, they gave up a certain level of emotions in order to ascend to that level. This is when the contradiction came in, was a young lady who was kicked out of her house because she refused to marry some old man. She was like, in the story, she was like 19 years old. Her father took her to the king's castle, said, I want to give her to the king. She's useless to us. So this young lady comes onto the scene. She's intrigued with what these women are doing behind the gate in terms of training, strengthening their skills, etc. But she starts questioning, well, if the male counterparts to the Dahomey warriors who were soldiers could have wives and children, why can't the women? She says, why can't I fall in love with someone?
That's emotion.
That's an emotion, right?
Yeah.
This is a young girl challenging status quo.
Okay.
Throughout the movie, you'll start seeing this transformation in behaviors, especially among the central characters, among the women, whereby they start feeling emotions, allowing those emotions to come through. And then the big emotional piece is when Viola Davis's character realizes that this young lady was a daughter that she had given up for an adoption. So the emotion of realizing that this person who was kind of getting on my last nerve because she wasn't following the rules is really my daughter, and her acceptance of that in the movie really was a beautiful experience because her character was so hard, so unemotional.
Oh, this is a young lady?
This is Viola Davis.
Oh, this is Viola Davis.
You know, this young girl was stripping away at her and forcing her to bring these emotions out. But when the two of them realized they were actually related to one another, when Viola Davis's second in command realized that this was her daughter, you started seeing emotions that these women had hidden for a while. So it was a human experience all the way around.
Well, so it is about emotions then,
It's about emotions. And the other piece is Viola Davis's character started questioning, why are we giving all these people to these white slavers? Why are we selling our people? And they consider all Africans as their people to slavers. She says, isn't there anything else we can do to save the kingdom? Can we sell them oil? Can we sell them this? Why do we have to sell our people?
We'll pick that up after our break. Okay. This discussion with the writer Fred with Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, and we're talking about the movie that's catching everybody's attention, The Woman King. We'll be right back.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Hello, this is Cornell with Frost Bank.
Hi there, this is Terry with Frost.
Good evening, this is Franklin.
This is Robert with Frost.
Hello, this is Rosemary with Frost Bank.
Welcome back to Discussion with the writer Fred right here at Black Video News in San Antonio, Texas. And as I always say, we are the voice of the black community. And I am here with one of my favorite guests, Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, and we're talking about The Woman King. Now, I want to ask you this question.
Let me ask you this question first.
Okay.
Did you see the movie?
Oh, I said at the very beginning I didn't see the movie.
Why didn't you see the movie?
I guess I'm waiting for it to come on one of the streaming channels, and I have a problem. I have a problem with our need to find our roots in Africa. I have a problem. I find my roots in Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. My mother comes out of Harold, Arkansas.
Okay.
I find my roots there.
Okay.
Okay. They stopped the international slave trade in 1808, which means most of us were already here.
Okay.
And so what they did is they set up the breeding farms in North Carolina, South Carolina.
Baltimore.
Yeah, to breed us. So as far as I'm concerned, that's about as far back as we can go. Now, will a Englishman say he has a cultural relationship with a Frenchman because of the color of their skin? No, they're different. We have to find our culture in Africa because we're all black. Technology did something. Technology did something when it allowed white people to go to Africa, bring our ancestors over here, and separate us totally from our culture over there. I always like to think of the hours between 9 at night and 5 in the morning when our ancestors sat in those slave cabins and had to survive. That's the basis of our culture. And it's like, for years, we were ashamed of Africa.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden we went through the period about the 60s when we loved Africa. Everybody's getting big fros. I had a fro, wearing dashikis, and it always seemed to me we were bypassing the most important part of me and your history. That's what happened in the slave cabins when they forced our ancestors over here to survive. And that gets to the reason why I don't want to see the movie. Because I understand the Dahomey Empire, they built their empire by selling our ancestors into slavery. And when you all talk about sisterhood, the question I want to ask you is, well, what about the sisters that were sold into slavery and to sit at the bottom of the slave ships for 3 months? What about their sisterhood? What happened to their sisterhood?
Well, it was violated. But this is why I'm saying that I said earlier that Viola Davis's character started questioning the logic and why are we selling our people to these people?
But that's not a correct interpretation, Sharon.
But I'm just telling you, this is what, she started questioning. Now you have to keep in mind that The Woman King is not a documentary.
Oh, okay, I'll accept that.
Okay,
so it's fiction.
It's fiction.
And you can do what you want to do with fiction.
What do you call it? Edutainment is the word. Okay.
Well, so education and entertainment.
Yeah.
But
The Woman King was never designed to be a documentary. Now, what I think what The Woman King has done for us is to question not only our ancestry, but also look at it, be willing to do the research of our own ancestors here in the United States. When I saw the movie, I started doing some research. And I have a friend that I had wanted to bring on with me. Now, she's from Ghana.
Okay.
And she told me, she said, well, Sharon, Africa never had borders until...
Right.
And so I started looking at, okay, when the movie was set, it was set at a time where the Dahomey Kingdom was in a flux, or in the 1800s. And around that time, the Berlin Conference
took place.
Yeah. When the Dahomey Kingdom was decimated.
Right. Okay.
So the Africa that we see today is a result of that conference when they did some colonization on steroids.
Broke up tribes,
broke up kingdoms, and started adding all these borders. Because the Dahomey Kingdom was in what's known as an area known as Togo now, and Benin.
Benin, yes.
Yeah. So that's the original location of the group. But that's where you started seeing Viola Davis questioning, why are we doing this? You're seeing all of these slave traders coming in, but also historically, you had the Berlin Conference coming in also. So to your point, to get excited about Africa could be considered a moot point in some cases, to where I'm more interested personally in finding out about my people here. Now, if I can find out who came from which one of those areas in Africa, that's even a plus. But I'm interested in learning more about my people's development here in the United States. But if I can find out where they came from, that's even better. So, because I can have that connection. Because I don't go to sleep at night disturbed that I don't know what country in Africa my relatives are. But I do want to know where they were in the United States in terms of plantations.
Are you concerned about your ancestors in Europe? Because you got your blood in you. You got that.
Well,
It don't matter how we got it, it's there. And we want to dismiss it, but no. We are more than just African. We are a combination because of technology. We're very unique people in the entire world.
I started looking at my own lineage to the Library of Congress records. And my name, Michael. So my father people are from Waycross, Georgia,
Okay.
which bordered the Jacksonville, Florida. It's kind of borders Jacksonville, Florida,
okay.
up in that area.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
I was going to the cleaners one day, and I was in there minding my own business, and there was this tall white man in there also. Now you got to remember, I'm a military brat, so we see some things, okay? So anyway, the woman says, last name please, and he said Michael, and I said Michael, and we both looked at each other. My father was 6'4", he was about 6'4".
Wow.
I said, well, where are you from? He says, Florida. He says, where are you from? I said, well, my daddy's from Waycross, Georgia. Now, the conversation stopped, okay? But deep down inside, I believe that was probably one of them long lost relatives we just happened to intersect in a cleaners.
That's amazing.
So, am I curious about my white side? Let's just be honest. Not as much as I'm more curious about my black side, because my black side were hardcore survivors.
And also the white side, the way we got it, we don't like to. A lot of people don't like to recognize our great grandmothers were raped, and that's how we get this mixed blood. I did a forum over at UTSA when I was teaching there, and this one guy was very light skinned, and all he could talk about was Africa, and all he could talk. And I'm looking at him and said, well, you might have as much white blood in you as you have black blood. And you just can't dismiss that in all fairness. Maybe we don't have to be fair. Maybe we don't have to be fair to history. Maybe we could look at only one direction, Africa. But, and then the fact, you asked me why I don't go see that movie. I think I explained why I don't go see that movie, because I'll never know probably where in Africa my ancestors were. But I do know one thing: they would put it in the bottom of a ship. A ship that held 300, they would put 600 in there and take the loss of those that died to get it here. And what was it called? The door of no return. When you went through that door, can you imagine? They didn't know what was happening to them. For what? For another group of people to be rich and be powerful. That's no different than any other place in the world. And you can't excuse Africa and Dahomey and those women for that.
Well,
can we take a break? You can pick it up right there.
Okay.
Hold your point. We'll come right back there. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. This discussion with the writer Fred. We're taking a break and we'll be right back with you. And if you're watching this, you can cuss me out if you want to.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Welcome back to Discussion with the Writer Fred right here at Black Video News in San Antonio, Texas. And we are the voice of the black community here. And me and Dr. Shadwell were into a pretty good discussion about Africa, and you're getting ready to comment on the door of no return. Go ahead.
Yeah, my parents have gone through that door. And my mother explained to me that there's a certain haunting spirit when she stuck her head out the door, and she could feel this spirit trying to pull her, and she went back in. But it's a haunting spirit to see this door, to see all this water, the ocean there. And I can only envision the fears that man, woman, boy, and girl was going through when they went to this door. And there had to have been some realization, we're not going back the way we came through.
And think of a 10-year-old girl going through that door of no return, not knowing what's going to happen to her, put at the bottom of a slave ship for 3 months, and actually being raped by the white sailors. And you tell me I need to go see this movie?
I asked you.
I don't think so.
Why you didn't see the movie.
Oh, okay.
I understand your argument. Now, I went to see the movie because I am a Viola Davis fan, okay? 2, I liked the imaging that I saw of these strong women as well. Did I go there to see the movie not knowing that their involvement of the slave trade? I already knew about that. I still want to go see the movie.
So you excuse him?
No, I
them.
don't excuse them, but I looked at the movie for what it was. It was what we call edutainment. So, yes, the homies were involved, but there was that human story again in the movie that I appreciated to see emerge, because as a moviegoer, I want to see a human story. Now, I have seen Gone with the Wind, I've seen Roots, I've seen all these other movies, okay, a bunch of movies, but I'm still more want to see the human story. Did these characters change? These characters change in the movie, and I was happy to see their change. Now, as a researcher, I can go out and do my own research about the good, the bad, and the ugly about the Dahomey people, okay? In fact, so I can do that on my own, but I can separate myself to where I'm going to go see this movie for the entertainment piece. If I want to go see a documentary, I can go find a documentary.
Okay. That's a great movie to show in Africa. I'm not researching Africa. I'm researching the Harlem Renaissance. I'm researching Black Wall Street. I'm researching Dr. King. I'm researching Bayard Rustin. I'm researching people who are here, okay, who are here and had to fight this struggle here because of what happened over there. And you're telling me I need to go see that?
No, I said you and I ought to go see the movie together. Now, I'm not saying you have to go see the movie, okay? I just said you and I ought to go see the movie together, and then we can fight it out in the parking lot.
But no, I said, before I start the show, I said I'm not going to talk about the movie itself, and I haven't, because I haven't seen it. I'm talking about when we look back at what happened to us as black people, okay? How did we get here? Sure, we could blame the white folks. It's easy to do that. But we always have a very difficult time to blame the Africans. And that's not being fair history.
I don't think that's the case nowadays.
Okay.
Because there's too many, first of all, social media, Netflix, Prime, they're starting to put out movies on TV, on those streams, to where you can see the goriness of what has happened to our people. And they're not, and a lot of these new filmmakers, they're not hiding the truth from us anymore. They're talking about critical race theory. Well, in some of those movies, it's critical race theory on steroids, okay? But they're not hiding it. So I think that, for me, I'm only speaking for me to say I am not going to see a movie about Africa. That kind of goes against my willingness to look at my ancestry from a global perspective.
How about your European ancestry?
If I knew where them jokers came from, I probably would be looking at them as well.
Let me clarify one thing.
Because
I didn't say no Africa. I said Dahomey Empire.
Well,
okay?
well,
because we know they more so, I believe, were involved in the slave trade.
Well, that might be a misnomer too, because
correct me if I'm wrong.
Because the slave trade was a moneymaker for a lot of those kingdoms.
That's no justification. It was a money maker for the South when we were enslaved.
But I'm just saying,
you're not justifying that.
I'm just saying it was a money maker for several kingdoms. Okay, but the focus right now is on the Dahomey.
And because of the movie.
And I think now that we have seen this movie, people are going back to some more research. Okay, let me find out about these people more. Who all were they involved with? Because the reason why I'm saying that is because in the movie, there were some Moorish-looking guys. They were black. What kingdom were they involved with? But they were kind of like the brokers. So
brokers between the Dahomey Empire and the whites. Okay.
And so there was a whole lot of Africans involved in that slave trade business, and we used to blame it all 100% on the white man. But as we're able to do our own research, we're finding out more information to where it was not what it used to. It wasn't all 100% white. There were African involvement in it. And so, I mean, it is what it is. Can you say, I give them a pass? No, you can't give them a pass.
You talked about Viola Davis and the young girl that she found out was her daughter. Okay. Well, and you said that in part of the movie, she questioned what they were doing. And that's not the truth, is it? That's not the truth.
Well,
she had to clean it up, I guess. And it's okay. I mean, it's a movie. It's entertainment. You do that. She had to clean it up because she probably already knew the history of Dahomey. So I would imagine they put that little part in there to clean it up. She did that to clean it up.
Well, I found out that the character Naui was based on a real Naui. In fact, I think the last 3 Dahomey women died in the 30s or so. But again, Viola Davis and her husband will say there's some fiction in the movie. It is what it is.
Yeah,
there was
that's
some
okay.
fiction in the movie.
Because movies have fiction. Historical movies have fiction.
But what I liked about the story, and this is going to be a stretch, you're going to say, really, Sharon? is that how many of our families have been separated, and somewhere down the line, you come across a family member that you didn't know you had. And that was a part of that story. Like I shared earlier, that I'm standing in the cleaners, minding my own business.
Yes.
My last name is Michael. This white man's last name is Michael. Daddy's from Waycross, Georgia. That man was from Waycross, Georgia. That man was from Jacksonville, Florida. Boom. So I can't help but wonder, was that a relative?
So you're talking about the part where Viola Davis discovers the young girl is her daughter. Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, we're about almost out of our time. You want to say something to our viewers about this whole subject?
I know that Fred and I, we started out talking about the movie and then we started spilling into other topics. But I think that when you have a movie such as The Woman King, okay, let's go ahead and say it. Wakanda Forever is about to come out here, okay? Any Black-oriented movie that has an African perspective thrown in it, I think it would behoove us as Black Americans, okay, is to do our research to understand what is in that movie. We can dispel it, accept it, but I think that it does encourage us to really do a deeper dive into who we are.
That's true. And I want to thank you for being on the show today and taking on this subject. I appreciate it. This is Discussion with the Writer Fred, telling our story, our way.